Today we're going to look over solving equations using the additive inverse. So again, let me remind you, when you do your notes on your spiral notebook or on loose leaf, always start a new day of notes at the top and with the title. So you can go ahead and write solving equations using the additive inverse. So when I write this, I really haven't mentioned this, but my blue pen kind of acts as my pencil because I do want you to do all your work in pencil because we do make mistakes. I do want you to get a red pen out because I want you to show me the additive inverse number, the opposite, in red. So if you can grab a red pen, if you don't have a red pen, then some other color other than your pencil, then we can get started. Alright, so when we solve equations, I know we can solve equations many different ways. There's different methods from different teachers. And I know you've probably been shown something different in middle school than I am going to show you today. Okay? But I'm teaching you the additive inverse, and we're going to build on this throughout the year. So, number one, if you see any subtraction in the problem, we're going to rewrite subtraction to addition. Now we had practice with that the other day on how to do that. So we're going to get practice again in an actual equation. So rewrite subtraction to addition. So if we have something like a minus b, we want to rewrite that as, remember, we should do two things. We change that minus to a plus, and then we got to take the opposite of the number that follows the new plus sign. So the opposite of b would be negative b. And I put my negative numbers in parentheses so I don't lose my negative sign. Okay? And then the next step is, well, we want to get rid of that adding number because now we switch it to an adding number. So to get rid of this adding number, get rid of adding number by adding its opposite, and that's the additive inverse. Those are opposites. It's just the real math term to both sides of the equation. You want to keep the equation balanced. So whatever you do on one side, you got to do the same thing on the other. Okay? So, part two, let's do some examples. So number one, leave some space. And this is how you want to write out your problems on your worksheet too, if you don't have a printer, which is fine. So we have x minus 4 equals negative 7. Okay? Now, I know in the past you probably added 4 underneath and got your answer. That's fine last year. This year, I want you to do something different. I want to see if you can follow directions, and I believe you can. And I want you to show me how to use the additive inverse on the same line. So first of all, we do have subtraction in the problem. Now, this is a minus, this is a negative sign, so this is not subtraction. This is. So on the next line, we're going to rewrite subtraction to addition. So remember, we do two things. Change that to a plus and take the opposite of 4. Again, I just group my negative numbers if there's more than another term on the same side, just so I can see that negative sign. So now, I want to get rid of that negative 4. So what I want to do to both sides, I'm always going to be adding. So when I solve equations, I only worry about two properties. The additive inverse, and then next time we're going to talk about the multiplicative inverse, which is the reciprocal. And those are the two properties you only have to worry about. So we're always adding. So with your red pen, okay, we're going to work our way out because I want that on the same line, not underneath. So the opposite of negative 4 is positive 4. And the reason I work my way inside out is because if I read this from left to right, it's going to be funny if I put the plus sign first and then a 4, because then it would say plus 4x, and then all of a sudden you're multiplying 4 times x. We don't want that. We want the plus sign in between the x and the 4. So if I read it from left to right, these two will cancel because they're opposites. So that's how we get the x by itself. And then over here, we just combine like terms, which will give us -3. And that's what I want you to show me. That's the additive inverse that we are applying today. Okay? Now, let's try another one. We got p plus 19 equals 6. Now, this one doesn't have subtraction in the problem, so we don't have to rewrite anything. We don't do that first step. We just have to get rid of the adding number. The adding number is always on the same side as the variable. So here, 19 is the adding number. So we are going to always add, and that's, get your red pen out, okay? Opposite of 19 is going to be -19. So I'm going to write -19 here and -19 there. Again, on the same line. I know in the past you had it underneath. All you're doing is just put it on the same line. Why do we have to do that? Because I have a method to my madness, as I always going to say, later on, okay? And plus, you got to learn to read from left to right and not underneath and up and down, up and down. So it's just a different technique that I want you to learn, okay? Because when we get into multi-step equations, it's just going to save, one, some paper, and two, again, read left to right and use those properties. So here we have p equals, because 19 and -19 cancel out, and then 6 plus -19 will give me a -13. And that'll be my final answer. And again, highlight or circle. Again, I would like to see your work in pencil, because if we get face-to-face, I require pencil. Okay? All right, let's try another one. Now, sometimes the variable's not going to be on the left side. It might be on the right side, but don't switch anything. Just leave it as is. So we have 104 equals y minus 67. So if you see subtraction in the problem, we want to rewrite it as addition. So on the next line, we're going to go y plus the opposite of negative, or positive 67 is negative 67. Okay, so all I did was rewrite subtraction to addition. Okay? Now, red pen, we always add. Now, what's the opposite? Here's the adding number, negative 67, positive 67. And here we have two positive numbers. You just add them up. And there's our final answer. 171 equals y. And it's okay to leave the variable on the right-hand side. I'm going to go down here. We've got a couple fractions here. 2/3 plus w equals 1.5. Okay? If the problem starts off as a fraction, leave it as a fraction. Okay? I want my answers in fractions. Gives you practice. All right. First things is, this is a mixed number. So I'm going to change that to an improper fraction. So 2 times 1 is 2 plus 1 is 3/2. All right. So here, adding numbers on the same side as the variable are adding numbers in front, and it's a positive 2/3. So we're going to, again, add. We're always adding the opposite, or, again, additive inverse. So the opposite of 2/3 is negative 2/3. We're going to do this on both sides. And sometimes I may forget parentheses, and that's okay. Not representing multiplication. Now, we have not like denominators, so we need to find a common denominator. So off to the side, you may have to do this, rewrite it, and figure, well, 6 is a common denominator. I'm going to multiply this top and bottom by 3 to make it 6. Same thing here, I'm going to multiply this by 2, and this is going to give me negative 4/6. So 9 plus a negative 4 is positive 5, and then 6. So 5/6 looks like my final answer for this example. Okay, I got one more. Now if you have something like this, r minus a negative 32 equals 62. We have subtraction in the problem, so we want to rewrite this as addition. Now here, we change that to a plus, and then the opposite of negative 32 is positive 32. Okay, so now we need to get rid of the adding number, so we're going to add the opposite 32, which would be negative 32. Okay, so this will give us R, and then this will give us 30. Okay. Now, some of you say, well, why don't we just subtract? Because sometimes you don't have to write this down, but this is what I sometimes see. Oh, I got to subtract 32. Now, over here, that's fine, but mathematically, this is incorrect. 32 is positive, and 32 is positive. So you're turning this as a negative R plus 64 equals 30. Mathematically, you did not do that correctly. So that's why I stay away from negative signs and just rewrite it as addition. Okay? And that concludes our lesson. So I want you to do your best on using the additive inverse. Follow my notes and do your best you can.